everybody, this is Moo.
And this is Fuji.
We just watched Atlantis The Lost Empire.
I'm gonna get this out of the way.
Okay.
This is a very pretty movie.
God,
I
this is a beautiful
still,
movie.
I love the movie for the aesthetic of it. I love the steampunk. It's basically like Laputa and like children who chase lost voices, but not, that movie didn't exist yet. And the clouds are not as good as Makoto Shinkai's clouds.
You're just gonna criticize everything on the scale of Makoto Shinkai clouds to everything else.
Now that I've watched all of Makoto Shinkai's movies, I kind of judge everything based on my comparison to Makoto Shinkai movies.
It's high cloud standards, man.
It's pretty high cloud standards.
It happens. So, two things about this movie. One, I'm going to start actually first a little bit of the effect this movie had. So this movie, oh goodness, it was around 120 million to make. And it made 186 million at the box office, which is
not great.
No.
Isn't it like you need to actually make like 3 times your budget at the box office to like break even?
Usually, yeah.
Yeah.
That's usually the case, especially with this kind of budget, yeah. But here's the real kicker. So, the same year, this is 2001, Shrek premiered in May.
And was crazy go nuts.
Crazy go nuts popular. So, Atlantis came out in June. It opened 13th place at the box office. Shrek opened in 2nd place at the box office. A movie that's a month old. DreamWorks movie. Beat out Atlantis by a long shot.
A lot.
Yeah, number 1 at the box office is a movie called Swordfish, and I have no idea what it's about, but it's live action, and that's all I know. So, So I thought that was an interesting factoid, as well as that Atlantis failing, more or less, actually had an overreaching effect into the Disney parks. So before Atlantis came out, there was some plans, or a lot of plans, to like incorporate Atlantis-themed rides into not only like current sections of the park, but like new ones, because a lot of people, they had this idea to make a Jules Verne kind of inspired area, and it would involve like Discovery Bay stuff. They wanted to make a big old volcano as one of the centerpieces, as well as this is where the Disney Bald Mountain villain thing was around this time period too. And they were gonna skin the ride 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea into Atlantis theme ride, and they had all sorts of stuff planned. But then Atlantis bombed, and all those plans pretty much got canceled, like completely. And so Atlantis failing actually had like such a big shockwave in it that ripple effect. Get it in the ocean. It like drastically changed the direction of the Disney parks and the constructions and everything like that. Granted, though, a lot of the ideas that they were going to use ended up being reused in Tokyo Disney Sea, or not Tokyo Disney Sea, Disney Sea, which is in Japan. I don't think it's not Tokyo. Tokyo has Tokyo Disneyland. But when Disney Sea became a thing, they reused a lot of the stuff from that they were coming up with. And I was telling Fuji about, they have like the Explorer group that has this overarching narrative connecting in a bunch of the parks as well. And I think that's leftover from Atlantis stuff. I really do. Like, I was especially seeing the resemblance watching this movie. So I thought that was interesting how much of an effect Atlantis had on the Disney company as a whole, not just in the animation department, not just in the film department. So yeah, a little bit of effect of Atlantis, like McFreakin losing at the box office to Shrek. And yeah, it did, which is funny because I saw Atlantis opening weekend. I went for Father's Day. We took my dad to go see it because he thought the trailers were cool. And so we all went on Father's Day to see Atlantis. So I remember going to see it, and I remember people being there, but just because there were people there in my particular theater, because I grew up around Chicago, you know, there's gonna be more people around. So it doesn't mean that, you know, there weren't more people going to see the Swordfish movie in Shrek.
I mean, the thing too to remember is that Shrek was a juggernaut. Like there had never been anything like Shrek.
I don't know, not for a while, especially from DreamWorks.
Sure, and I mean, it was crazy. I remember when Shrek came out, and I saw that in theaters. I didn't see Atlantis in theaters.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's great in theaters, from what I remember. It looks fantastic in theaters.
I would believe that. But, no, I remember just Shrek being, like, everything.
God. You know, something funny? So, first time I watched Shrek, I was pretty young, and we got to the end of the movie, and we were near the front row because it was packed. I remember very much that Shrek was packed when we went to see it. And we were going to the credits, and I turned to my mom and I go, "Hey, Mom, do you think they'll ever make a sequel of this movie? Because I want to see if, like, you know, Shrek is going to have children or something." I guess I had that thought in my head was because the Disney sequels were coming around this time too, so I probably was, and you know, franchises and all that. And my mom says, "Why would they make another one? The story's over. There's nothing left to write about." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." Cut to several years later, we get Shrek 2. And now we have, I mean, there's a 3 and a 4 and a possible 5th one, which I really hope stays in development hell, but yeah, anyway. But yeah, so there, I just wanted to talk about, like, the meta of it outside of there.
Mm-hmm. And I will say, not only was Shrek like a juggernaut to be competing against, but like this movie could have been better.
Yeah.
Okay. I already said my feelings on the look of the movie, which is it's still amazing.
Yes,
I still love it. I love how it's painted. The characters are generally really great. Like, I could watch almost all of those characters like for a lot longer than we got to see them on the screen.
There's a problem though.
There's a problem.
There's one problem.
And it's called Adam Sandler makes bad movies.
Adam Sandler is Milo Thatch.
Whoa.
Whoa. Not really.
No.
Voiced by Michael J. Fox, but
okay.
He's the problem.
He is the problem. Milo gets some good moments. But it's just, this is a movie where we've backslid into that, like, we don't want to give the protagonist, like, too much agency, or else, like, maybe he'll be responsible for things.
What? We can't have that!
It feels like I'm watching a bad Adam Sandler movie.
Yeah, if you, like, look at the Milo Thatch character, so Milo's character, one, is more boring than everybody else comparatively, but he's also this, like, character type. I don't even know what to call this character type off the top of my head, besides Adam Sandler character type.
Everyman.
He's the everyman stereotype, but he's also, like, that kind where it's kind of got, like,
cringy everyman.
Fragile masculinity thing going on.
Yeah, that too.
That's what really comes down to, because so Milo's thing is that he's the linguist. He can read and speak the language.
Like, he's a smart guy.
Right. But, like, instead of playing it to be him be more like how do I put this? I guess adorkable is kind of the right word, but instead of playing that, he tries to do things like, instead of him I got it. Instead of him being, like, more honest, like, where
he postures a lot.
Yes, he does. He, like, tries to, like, cover it up. Like, there's a part, I think, here, I'm gonna sum it up, actually. I think this one scene that really does sum up the problem with Milo. So, in the movie, they have this big old crew, right, and this big old ship. They're going down, then this really awesome creature called Leviathan, it's a scorpion horseshoe crab thing, it's really cool, like, destroys it. They had 200 people with them on the ship, and the majority of them died. A majority of them died, so there's only a small group of them left. And so they're, the people that made it, like, land on, like, the inside shore, and put out a candle in the water, and it's this pretty somber scene. And then they're like, okay, well, we gotta keep going, so we're gonna keep going. So they all get into their cars to keep going. And they cut to Milo by a car which has, like, a
bike horn.
Like a bike horn on it. He's, like, grinning, going, and, like, playing with it. And I sit here and I go, people are fucking dead. Dude, don't you feel anything about that?
And not only that, but it's just like, you know, I could accept some level of Milo goofing around because he should be this, like, really earnest character who, like, really, really wants to get to Atlantis. You know, this is like his dream.
Right.
And the scene has nothing to do with either Atlantis or the context of stuff that's going on. Like, it's just him dicking around. And I just, like, there were too many of those moments where he's just weird and cringy. Yeah, there's
actually the part, like, directly after that, the general guy goes up to him and goes, like, can you drive this truck? And Miles like, well, of course I can. And, like, you know, starts flaring around, and I'm like, when I think would have been better if he goes, like, looks at it and goes, I've never driven one before, or, like, something like that. Like,
honest. And okay, and so my memory might be a little fuzzy because I did watch Atlantis and Treasure Planet around the same time, and it's been a while.
Yeah.
But when I think about the difference between Atlantis and Treasure Planet is both of them are, like, cute white boy everyman characters.
Yeah.
And they're both really, like, earnestly motivated by something. The difference is that Jim is just, like, way more earnest. Like, everything he does is about sailing into space.
Yeah.
Like, everything.
And his dad issues, but, you know.
That too. And it's like Milo just gets distracted by every little thing, like, to his left and right.
And, like, you think about it's not even, like, stuff related to, like, say, Atlantis stuff.
No.
Okay, so actually, I watched The Mummy not that long ago. And that's immediately I think. So there's a part near the end of The Mummy where, like, Evie and main character dude and her brother, I cannot remember the main character's name, but whatever. So they're running out of, like, the crypt. And, like, Evie's brother, like, drops this, like, ancient tome that, like, it's, like, a super, like, she's a historian, archaeologist, she's, like, super into that stuff. But he, like, drops it into, like, this lake and it sinks, and this place is crumbling. Like, if they don't get out of there, they're gonna get, like, crushed. And she stops and goes, no, wait, we gotta go back for them. They're like, no, come on, we gotta go. She's like, oh, man, and have to pull her away. And so if they did something like that, because she's an archaeologist, she wants to preserve this artifact, and her stupid brother just dropped this in the lake. It's like, God damn it.
See, that's like character-driven dicking around.
Yeah, exactly. If they had done that, I probably would have been more okay with Milo, but, honking a bike horn is not really archaeological study, unless I checked, or any sort of interesting in Atlantean culture, or anything like that. Actually, he doesn't really ask very many questions about Atlantean culture, even though he's read about it. There's a difference between reading about culture and experiencing it.
Because there's that part where they're, like, gonna ask each other questions, and we never get that scene.
Really? We do, but it's short. It's so short.
Like, there should have been more to that. There should have been more, like, I feel like Kita is such a much stronger character than Milo.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I wish that she had more screen time.
Right? Well, you know what I just realized? I just thought of this right now. They could have done, like, that scene in Tarzan where Jane and Tarzan are showing each other, like, their world, like,
such
in
a good
civilization.
Good scene.
And yeah, it's a montage, but they could have done something like
They
that.
could have.
Because I would have been pretty close. Like, Milo could have told her about, like, modern shit that's going on. Because this takes place in 1914. But Atlantis has been underneath the water for, like, what, 1,000 years? Yeah. And she could show them about Atlantis stuff. And they could have had, like, even a short little montage. It didn't have to be a Phil Collins song playing over it, though that would have been interesting. But they didn't do that. It's not very good world building, I guess. Like,
which is a shame because, like, there's so much to this world. And, okay, I'm gonna say, this movie, I'm sorry, I'm, like, gesturing with a drink in my hand.
No, it's cool.
Man, this movie reminds me so much of Laputa.
Yeah.
And I feel like...
Oh, you should probably say it's Castle in the Sky.
Oh, yeah, Castle in the Sky. Castle in the Sky. The thing is, like, that movie, too, and Children Who Chase Lost Voices, like, you're not told a lot about the world where they go to.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's all just, like, visual stuff and, like, context clues and things. And it's like this movie skirts too much between letting the viewer figure it out for themselves and, like, really getting into the lore of it.
Yeah.
It's just kind of half-assed.
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't like that.
I don't like that either. Also, we should talk about, like, Milo not really earning anything.
Everything...
It's just kind of give it to him.
Yeah, I mean, like we were saying earlier, like, he has no agency. Mm-hmm. Everything that happens in this movie happens to him.
Yeah.
Like, so much of this movie could have been solved if he was the one who sought out the team.
Yes. Yeah, or at least the old guy, because... So the old man in this movie, in case you people haven't watched Atlantis in a long time, I should probably explain. So, Milo's grandfather was looking for Atlantis, big looking to it, and it turns out he had a friend, like a business partner, who was also looking to him for another old dude. And in the movie, Milo, like, enters his apartment after failing to convince people to give him money to go on this expedition, and this, like, sexy German woman is in his apartment. She's like, "Hey, come with me. Someone wants to fund your shit." He's like, okay. So they go there, and basically the guy's like, "Don't worry, I got this all settled. You can go and do this. Also, I was a friend of your grandfather's." And what it should have been done, so Milo has A, agency, and B, some responsibility in this mission happening, is, like, have him, like either figure out a location of his friend, or maybe he wouldn't even know of this friend, because it could have been a falling out or something, and discovering and be like, "Oh man, this guy also did, like, grandpa's stuff, I'm gonna go find him." So he does and convinces this old man to be like, "I want to find this expedition to get this journal." It turns out the old man has the journal. He's like, "Okay, I'll fund your mission, I'll help you get your shit." And then, like, that way Milo initiated this whole entire mission. He started it. And even more so, that means the line that he says later in the movie that, like, "Oh, this is all my fault. I led a bunch of, like, looters to Atlantis. I can't believe I did that." In the movie, the context of the movie, it doesn't make any sense, because he didn't. He just joined an exposition that was pretty much already underway,
Like, let's be honest, if Milo hadn't joined, they would have found someone else.
Yeah.
To translate the book, and they would have gone.
Yeah, Milo was not that vital to the mission. He's just convenient and easy to manipulate.
I mean, I find it really hard to believe that in the entire world there's only one crazy archaeologist who's obsessed with Atlantis.
Yeah, I doubt it.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
See, and that's why I think, Laputa made more sense, because it's not as like ingrained in like popular psyche as Atlantis is.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, exactly. Like that's why I that would have solved that plot hole if he initiated the thing, and the guy went okay, and then he just did what in Treasure Planet, where hired like some not so pretty kind of sneaky people. Yes, yeah, that which actually, funny enough, Muppets Treasure Island also did something like that. They did better than that, for Christ's sakes. Like, so the part where Kermit's like, "Oh man, this is my fault." Like, yeah, you can understand because he's the captain and he's the one who hired all these people. But don't worry, Sam the Eagle's alive at the end of that movie. They don't kill him off. It's all good. But I like that movie. Oh my god, I'll talk about that when we get to Treasure Planet. Yeah, that's so. Really, Milo is like the biggest issue in this movie. Oh, there's another part I want to bring up. So, it's the part in during the final climax battle, and Milo doesn't shoot any lasers from his shark, which I guess the shark can't do that for some reason, because we can't have him actually do anything. So he gets kind of in a scuffle with the big general dude, and he grabs a piece of glass that has some energy on it.
It looks like he's gonna shank him.
Yeah, he does, but he just scratches them, which is fine if they want to do that. And the guy slowly starts turning to crystal. And listen, if I saw, even this person was trying to kill me, and I saw them slowly turn to crystal inside, I'd be like, holy fucking shit, this man just turned the crystal inside out. But you know what Milo's reaction is? He's like, oh, thank God. No! Why are you saying that? You just watched this man turn into a crystal statue. I'd be like, oh my god, this man just turned into a crystal statue. I mean, I guess it's a good thing since, well, now he can't kill me anymore. But
you just killed a man.
You were just, yeah. You know what? At least Bernard, when he killed the one dude in that movie, he had no remorse. He was just he didn't say anything, not even reaction. He just pushed that dude into a crocodile-infested river, and he was dead. Yeah, even that was a better reaction to Milo's weird saying. It's oh, thank God. I would say thank God. I would say, oh my God.
You know what that is? That's weird. Okay, and we're both women, so I'm gonna say this. That's weird, male fantasy posturing. When you think you could kill a guy, and then just be like, yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah, that's not true. I mean, I haven't killed anybody before. Have you, Fuji? Have you killed?
that shit'll fuck you up. That'll fuck you up.
Yeah, it will. It really does. If you read any account of even somebody killing someone accidentally,
especially like that. I mean, it's
or witnessing someone die, even.
Yeah, witnessing someone die. But I mean, to do it like that, where you're close up to someone and you physically are because it's one thing, I think, to be far away and doing it that way, but to be up close and personal and kill this guy with a piece of glass that you're holding in your hand, that's some traumatic shit.
Yeah, especially if once again the dude's turning into crystal
from the inside out.
He's armed, or he's screaming, and light and crap is coming up, and yeah, he does move later, which, oh my god, is doubly freaky. But you're not gonna have a little bit more reaction to it, dude. Just saying, oh, thank God. Dude, are you serious? It just makes me. It doesn't give the Milo character very much depth. Not that he had much in the first place, but it doesn't make him feel like he's an actual person either. I just sit here and I go, it's very much of, oh yes, I am man.
I'm man.
Man, I am cool.
I'm a man.
I want to do this man thing. It's toxic masculinity. Woo!
Pump iron and grill meat.
Which is funny because design-wise, they are, him and the general dude, whose name I am not remembering, they're designed to be kind of opposites, because you got this really hulking buff dude who's obviously been in the military and was older, and then Milo's younger and skinny and a nerd. Yeah, it's obviously meant to be a contrast, but I believe the general dude more than I do Milo.
Yeah.
Even if he's this stock villain kind of character, and he reminds me a lot of, he looks like the general from Iron Giant.
He looks like the general from Shadow the Hedgehog.
Oh my god, you're right. He basically looks like any general you would come across, evil general
The
would come
general.
across. The general. Oh my god. Also, I was saying when we were watching this is a cheap knockoff of, the Avatar is a cheap knockoff of this movie. Well, granted, Avatar is a cheap knockoff of a lot of movies.
Yeah.
Not just this movie. But I think Atlantis is an inspiration. Oh, yeah, so basically we were trying to figure out, like, the writing went into this, and this movie had 6 writers. Which doesn't always have to be a bad thing. But, sometimes too many is too many, and one of the writers who started on this is Joss Whedon.
And I will believe that he really had nothing to do with the final product.
No, he says he didn't.
Yes.
But it just really feels like that any thoughts that he did have are kind of still there in some way. Like, whatever influence he had in it didn't completely go away. And yeah, if you think about it and think about the stuff he usually writes, especially post Firefly, which is a lot of things, but you're just like,
I'm not gonna get into this. I don't watch enough of his stuff to.
I only know some of his stuff. I've only watched some of Buffy. I really haven't watched any of his TV shows after that. I just wasn't interested because Buffy was a little bit disappointing near the end. But the rest of it, whatever. I'm not getting too into it, but point being is a lot of his stuff that he has in it is coming up here, and it just makes me think of that early Wonder Woman script that floats around sometimes.
Yep.
Yeah, that one. It reminded me of that a little bit, just a little bit. Granted, once again, he probably really didn't have anything to do with the final product because he says he didn't, and he left very early in production. But it just feels like there's some sort of vibe here that's from that.
I feel like this movie was like, hey, fantasy adventure anime is really popular. Let's make a fantasy adventure anime, and then put Adam Sandler as the lead.
Because Adam Sandler movies are also popular.
Yeah, they were.
Yep.
I mean, they still are.
No, not really. I mean,
No.
Pixels bombed, remember?
Oh, I didn't see it. I don't know anything about it.
I mean, I told you the most important thing about Pixels.
Yeah.
So we don't have to worry about anything else involving that. But, crap, what was I gonna say? Yeah, Atlantis looks good. And Atlantis
beautiful.
has good stuff in it. But because I wouldn't say is it all on Milo, you think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
it's partially Milo and it's partially pacing, but it's because the pacing is around Milo.
because they restructured it to be that way too.
Yeah.
So yeah, there were scenes that should have been swapped around, scenes that should have been properly cut, that whole spiel with the fake dudes in the boiler room. That really wasn't necessary in the movie. You could have expositioned it in a different way. In fact, literally the next scene expositions in a better way.
We're talking about the at the very beginning when he's practicing his pitch.
Yeah.
And you think he's in front of a crowd, and then it's not, and it's it just feels like a fake out.
Yeah, and you're just oh.
It's I would have rather seen him giving the speech for real in front of a real audience and actually getting booed down.
Yeah, because that makes you sympathize with him more.
There's more gravity to that. And instead it's he's giving the speech and you're expecting him to get booed down, and then surprise, he's just practicing in front of people.
Yeah, and here's some boiler room joke. That scene yeah, so,
and it would have sped up the pacing.
Yeah, no, it really would have. It would have sped up the pacing.
Dang it.
I mean, it's not terribly paced. It's just awkwardly paced, I guess, sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just I don't want to watch this guy being Adam Sandler. I want to see Atlantis.
Right? Get me to Atlantis.
I want to watch this movie because I want to see Atlantis. Show me Atlantis.
Yeah, they really should have done that opening scene a lot better. In that regard.
Your cat is sitting right on your foot.
He is. He's done this before. It's okay. My cat is not responsible for Atlantis. But there's a cat in this movie. He's a white cat. Or she, I don't know.
Yep.
But it's a white cat.
Yep.
It's cool. But yeah, all the other characters that Milo is with are way more interesting. It's I said that Hercules had that problem. It's like that, but worse. Because at least I liked Hercules a little bit more than I did Milo.
Hercules was genuinely a good guy. Milo's just kind of a dick.
Yeah. Because Hercules was pretty earnest, and when he did have those really awkward moments where he's trying to be right, gotta get my sword.
But that's part of his character.
Right.
That's his arc.
It's a little bit, he has more of an arc than Milo does. I really don't feel like Milo changed that much.
No, Milo has no arc.
It's mostly because he doesn't have as many, he doesn't have responsibility. Hercules had at least a little bit of responsibility.
I mean, Milo's arc is, I want to find Atlantis. I found Atlantis.
I got a hot girl. Yay!
That's it.
The end.
Yeah.
Like, it, yeah.
Like, nothing gets in his way of achieving his goal, which is to find Atlantis, and that's why once he's there, like, okay, if they went, like, the route of, like, he's a researcher, and he's, like, all this, like, artifact stuff is, you know, like, his life, and then there's, like, actual people, and then he doesn't know how to, like, deal with there being people, like, why are there people mixed in with my history, like...
Yeah, you're right. I mean, they tried to portray him, like, to be in, like, be a little bit socially awkward, but they didn't do it correctly. He was more like, someone who's, like, tries really hard to be cool, but isn't, but you know, those type of people usually aren't academics, if that makes any sense, like, or at least not in movies. You know what, he reminds me a lot of that character, I'm gonna bring back The Mummy, actually. I think this movie takes a little bit from The Mummy, thinking about it.
I mean, The Mummy was really popular.
It was, but, it reminds me of the male lead, Rick, that was his name. I think. He has that, he actually has a lot of the demeanor that Milo takes, you know, that kind of cocky, like, devil may care attitude, but Milo doesn't have that character type. It just kind of takes little traits from that and shoves it in here. He should be more like Evie in that movie, who is a nerdy, a little bit socially awkward, not really care much about other... Well, she does care about people, but, like,
I mean,
she's more interested in the archaeology than anything else.
Not to say that you can't be, like, a cocky, selfish, or, like, posturing dude who also is a huge nerd, but you gotta, like...
Write it well?
Yeah.
And present it well, yeah. Yeah, it just isn't. And I guess I could see why, in the end, even if Atlantis, like, also didn't have too much advertising, it had more advertising than Treasure Planet did, but didn't have a ton of advertising going into it, because I guess the execs didn't have that much faith into it. It seems like the Mike Eisner had more faith in it than anyone else.
You know what I'm thinking of? Okay, we're like really long.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
I'm thinking of, like, recent movies, like Moana. Like, Moana is a character who, you know, really wants a thing. Like, she really wants to go sailing, and she does it. But she makes decisions that have gravity. Like, she disobeys people. Like, she makes mistakes, and they have, like, serious consequences. And I wonder if just this time period of the early 2000s when everything was kind of... Well, what year? Well, this was 2000, right?
Yeah.
Like, something happens, and I wonder if people just don't want that gravity.
Yeah, I guess not, or at least the writers didn't. But
because it
didn't think about it.
Continues, because
with,
like, the weird exception being of Lilo and Stitch.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Lilo does have agency, but she's a little kid,
right,
and is not here on this grand adventure
and
or anything.
Stitch has agency, and he screws things up.
He does, and not even says as much in that movie.
Yeah.
Well,
David says it.
Oh, David does say it. That's right. Well, I mean, she yells at him later in the movie, but
too.
Actually, you know what I think about it? Lilo has more consequences for her sister instead, bringing this animal in. But remember, she's a little kid. Like, it's a bit like a different sort of responsibility, so to speak.
Right.
Like, she doesn't get this as an actual alien from outer space created to do destruction. Like, she's like, what? 8? Like,
Lilo, she's like 4.
4? Yeah, she's younger than that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's like super. Basically, she's a really little kid, and like, so, like, you know, she's not super responsible for this alien. I mean, it's not a dog; it's an alien. Like, it's different, you know. So, like, in that movie, there are consequences, and there are stuff like that, and even in the movie before it, if you think about it, like, I mean, yeah, because the Emperor's New Groove is a comedy, so and it also runs in Looney Tunes logic, so therefore it's a little bit different. But, like,
Cusco's decisions have consequences.
Yeah, the way he treats Pacha, and even arguably his kingdom, even though you don't really.
I mean, the whole conflict is started by how he treats Yzma.
Yeah.
I mean, you can say what you want. Like, she wanted to take over the kingdom, sure, but, like, it's his action of firing her that kicks the whole story into motion.
Exactly.
And
like,
Milo never has that moment.
You're right. He just gets pulled into a story, which can be narratively interesting on its own, but...
It's like this movie can't decide if it's about Atlantis or if it's about Milo.
Yeah. It sounded like it started being about Atlantis, and then they switched to Milo to make things simpler, but they didn't make that transition all the way it looks like.
You know what I want? I want Makoto Shinkai to make this movie. I'd be real interested.
That would look amazing. 1. And 2, I'd be very interested to see what he do with it. It probably involved time travel and sadness.
Oh, just a little. That would make sense in this case.
I mean, I guess you could arguably, yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of time travel-y ish. Granted, Atlantis is a little bit vague on a lot of things. This movie, but God, this movie looks good. But you know what? I just realized. So even in like you can like Star Wars, Luke Skywalker is a pretty everyman character, right? And he's pretty like if people do an example of the hero's journey, they go to Star Wars, right?
Mm-hmm.
And but Luke, even he has consequences for his actions because
Sure.
remember he would really want to like, oh yeah, I would love to be like a Jedi and all that stuff, and he runs off to go find Obi-Wan. But because he runs off to go find Obi-Wan, it ends with like who killed his aunt and uncle again? I cannot remember.
I mean, people hunting R2.
Yeah. Oh yeah, people are because he takes the droids in.
Yeah.
Yeah, he takes the droids in, therefore it targets his family, and he also wasn't. I mean, he probably would have been killed with his family at the thing, but like because he has to go on without his aunt and uncle, and so that there's consequences right there. Even the Star Wars prequels, there are consequences. Granted, the Star Wars prequels have different problems, if you want my opinion, but Anakin still, for not very great reasons, but he still starts the shit, like murders all those kids. And like, granted, I'm not saying that we have to have a dark protagonist or anything like that, but I'm kind of rambling a bit.
Who has consequences for his actions.
There should be consequences, yeah, like at least something. It doesn't have to be like ginormous. I mean, it could.
I mean, Lilo and Stitch is a teeny tiny scope of a story,
right?
And it's still like you feel the weight of those decisions,
right? Even though like Hawaii's not gonna like explode or anything, but like this family, you're like, oh no, this family's gonna get torn apart. Lilo and Stitch is our next movie, so we'll talk about when we get there. But like, yeah, even that, like, it doesn't even have to be big consequences. It has to be something, know. It has to
just
be something.
Get you invested.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, this movie, I got really invested with Atlantis, with the city of Atlantis. Like,
yeah, and Kida.
It's great. It's compelling, and like I just did not get invested with Milo.
Yeah, no, I know. I did not get invested in Milo.
And see, maybe that's the difference because like I remember Treasure Planet very fondly, and maybe it's
Me too.
Like I did get invested with what Jim wants.
Yeah. I mean, like, well, you can learn a lot about Jim. You know what? I thought of something else. So Milo mentioned he's an orphan, right? We don't really get to see the effect of that much, except mention it twice. And I think like it could have been more interesting if they kind of went at least a little bit more.
I'm gonna spoil Children Who Chase Lost Voices. So Children Who Chase Lost Voices is about a girl who has a crystal, and it leads her to this like underground city, like Lost City.
Yeah.
And she's going on this adventure, and people are like, "Why are you going? Like, why are you here?" And then like near the end of the movie, she breaks down because her father's dead, her mother works all the time, and she's an only child. And then she made a friend, and the friend died. And so she goes to this country, and she's lost here, and people have been asking her, "Why are you here?" And she's gone through all these like terrible things, and so finally she says, "I came here because I was lonely."
Wow, that's
and
pretty
it like because she's saying that like there's nobody waiting for her, so she went on this big adventure because like there's nothing waiting for her anywhere else.
Yeah,
and it's like I wanted something like that from Milo.
Yeah, I mean, it could like explain like where his obsession with Atlantis came from. Because if you think about it, if his grandfather passed away when he was still pretty young, losing your parents is really traumatic, and losing another like parental figure is probably incredibly traumatic. Why not fixate on the thing that your grandfather was super into?
But it's like it never
goes anywhere.
It doesn't go that far.
It's just a backstory thing that just kind of comes and goes, and you don't know what effect it has on the character. Yeah. It's kind of frustrating, because I'm sitting here like, oh, they could have done this and this and this and this, but they didn't do that.
Let's rewrite Atlantis.
I'll do it.
Okay. I mean, let's rewrite Death Note first.
We're not talking about Death Note here. That is a whole different recording. We're gonna have to talk for Death Note for an hour. I'm gonna rewatch the damn anime. I haven't watched that shit in years.
You should watch the movies.
Yeah.
Movies are good. I like the movies better than I like the comic.
Yeah, and then we can watch the crappy Netflix one that we all know and love. It's the crappy Netflix one.
Things it could have been. We need to check and see if the first Death Note movie is also on Netflix.
Yeah.
Because I have the DVDs of the others. But
Oh,
I don't
yeah,
have the
totally.
first one.
But yep,
Totally off topic.
Yeah, completely off topic. But it kind of, I mentioned the Netflix crappy movie. But the thing is, it didn't. There's some things. There are movies that are crappy, and you say like this whole movie would have been crappy no matter what. But there are movies which I think are even more frustrating, where we're like, you just didn't have to be crappy. This didn't have to be crappy.
This could have been good.
Exactly. Like I could have. Like there's like so much. Like those make me way more frustrated than like straight up being like, well, this was a terrible idea and no one should have done it, like kind of thing.
The Room.
The Times movie.
I still haven't seen the whole thing. I've only seen clips.
God, we should watch it sometime. But I mean, that's enjoyable for different reasons, and that probably shouldn't exist. You know what? Actually, I was thinking more in the vein of Hunchback of Notre Dame 2, because Hunchback of Notre Dame, it's not really lends itself to a sequel.
No,
really.
I mean, that's like a movie that just nothing about it could be fixed.
Yeah. Oh well, I mean, there's one thing, but that's not that. But like, not something you could do in a sequel, Yeah. And
I'm talking about the sequel.
Oh, okay, sorry. I thought you meant like the other one. I was just like, oh, there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, wait, no, you're right. Nothing about the sequel could be fixed. Like, because there's too many problems. There's way too many problems. It's just so much that you're like, well, this is just a completely different movie and has nothing to do with Hunchback. Like,
but it's like Atlantis is like 75% there.
Yep, and they did have a sequel. It's awful. Oh my god, it's so bad. I'm not
interested in this at all.
Oh my god. So I'll quickly tell anyone who doesn't know about the Atlantis sequel.
I'm gonna wash my hands because I touched my
Yeah, go ahead. I'll explain the Atlantis sequel real quick. So the Atlantis sequel is actually a pilot. I think it was supposed to be 3 episodes or something for the Atlantis TV series that they were going to make, but then Atlantis failed. So what they did was they like, okay, just string these movies together and make it a sequel. So the sequel's quality of animation is the same as Hunchback of Notre Dame, which is horrifically awful, and the movie's terrible. It's a horrible movie. It has this like awful comic relief character in this form of this lava dog, which I can't even describe it. Just look it up. It's really ugly too. It's a terrible design. And the end of that movie, the sequel movie, I think it's like Atlantis 2 Milo's Return or some bullshit, and is like, he is like, okay guys, we're gonna raise Atlantis to the surface. Atlantis. Remember, because I said, as I just said, Kita's like, hey guys, we're gonna take Atlantis back to the surface. And everyone's like, okay, and then it ends with her return to surface, hence I think the TV series would have gone from there. Which, I don't know, kind of defeats the point of the last movie being like, hey, maybe people shouldn't find this place because they might abuse it. It's, once again, it's another Disney sequel where the people didn't watch the first one, it seems like, because it's like, hey guys, maybe we should bring Atlantis up and share it with the world. Oh yeah, that's a great idea, guys. Let's totally fucking do this. Oh man, it's like in Wonder Woman, if they made a sequel to Wonder Woman, where the Amazon's like, you know what, let's share our island with the world, and then they like lift up the mist and pops up next to New York City or some shit.
Oh, damn it.
It'd be like that, but it's also like, expand other Disney sequels or move on to where she's like, hey guys, arranged marriage is bad. Or Hunchback of Notre Dame, we're like, you know what Quasimodo needs? A girlfriend. Oh my god. Why?
At some point, a lot of people thought those were good ideas.
At some point, maybe they were good ideas, but then... Granted, I don't really see any, or maybe they just had a first draft and no one bothered revising it. Maybe. I think that's the case with Mulan 2, personally. Actually, I think with Mulan 2, they might have just been like, okay, this should be
I told you
action.
my aunt really liked Mulan 2, right?
Oh yeah, you did!
Yeah.
Did she give a reason why?
She thought it was very sad or something when Shang falls off the bridge.
I mean, there's a pretty good scene, but it doesn't redeem the entire movie.
This is the same family that willingly watches those knockoff CGI movies.
Why do they do that to themselves?
I've watched Kick Chop Panda a lot of times.
What? The knockoff Kung Fu Panda movie?
Yeah.
Why?
Because my cousin had it.
Why? Why are they watching it when they could just watch Kung Fu Panda?
I do not know. I don't know.
I don't know. Okay, whatever. I guess I won't question your family's choices in movies. Oh my god.
My mom really liked Twilight.
A lot of people did. My mom refused to watch Twilight for a while because it's vampires and she thought that'd be too scary. She did eventually watch them later and she wasn't impressed, but
Is it because it's not a happy ending?
I guess so. But remember, my mom, you know that Meg Ryan movie, I think it's like City of Angels or something, with
I don't know
Nicolas Cage,
No.
and where she fucks an angel.
No.
My mom loves that movie, and she cries at the end of it every single time, even though the ending is bullshit, but...
My dad told me one time that Con Air was a really good movie.
Con Air?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
He told me not to watch it because it's too violent.
Actually, I did when I was a kid. I saw the first like handful of minutes on TV, and then my mom went, "Oh my god!" and changed the channel, which is good. It was after some dude got shot in an airplane. So like, I didn't realize I watched the first few minutes of that movie until years later. I got into Homestuck, and I went, "Wait a second! I recognize that Nicolas Cage."
Okay.
Anywho,
I think I'm done.
all right, we're done with Atlantis. I think. All right, so our next movie will be a good time. Here we go. We're gonna watch Lilo and Stitch.
Lilo and Stitch.
Yay!